The Wyoming winter of 1875 roared like a beast, its icy claws tearing across the endless prairie, burying the world in a shroud of snow. At Dawn's End Ranch, a lone figure rode through the blizzard, his silhouette barely visible against the howling white. Ethan Caldwell, a man carved from the rugged earth itself, gripped the reins of his horse, his breath forming fleeting clouds in the frigid air. 3 years had passed since his wife, Clara Siwanitin, slipped away in the night, leaving him with nothing but the echo of her laughter and a leather-bound journal he couldn't bring himself to open. Each morning, he rode the fence line alone, as if the routine could stitch together the fraying edges of his soul. But today, fate had other plans. Through the swirling snow, Ethan's sharp eyes caught a glint of something unnatural, a patch of white too delicate for the wilderness. His heart, long dulled by grief, stuttered as he urged his horse. Mariners. Storm, closer, there, the year in. Half buried in a drift, lay a woman in a tattered wedding dress, her dark hair spilling like ink across the snow. Her face was pale, lips faintly blue, but her chest rose with shallow breaths. Ethan's breath caught, a sharp pang of memory slicing through him. Clara, cold and still, her pulse gone forever. He knelt beside the stranger, pressing trembling fingers to her neck. A faint flutter met his touch, and relief flooded him, raw and unexpected. "Hold on," he whispered, his voice rusty from disuse. Scooping her into his arms, Ethan marveled at how light she felt. Despite the soaked satin clinging to her frame, Storm stood steady as he mounted, cradling the woman against his chest. Her head lolled against his shoulder, and a strange warmth stirred in him. A flicker of purpose he hadn't felt since Clara's death. The storm raged as he rode back to the ranch, each gust a reminder of the fragility of life in this unforgiving land. At Dawn's End, Miguel Lecheri, Ethan's loyal ranch hand of 15 years, waited at the barn, his weathered face etched with concern. His eyes widened as Ethan emerged from the snow, the woman in his arms. "Madre de Dios," Miguel muttered, crossing himself. "Prepare the guest room," Ethan ordered, his voice cracking like dry timber. "And fetch Doc Wilson from town." Miguel nodded, hurrying off as Ethan carried the stranger inside, her presence already shifting the air in the silent house. In the guest room, Ethan laid her on the bed, tucking quilts around her shivering form. Her dress, once elegant, was a ruin of mud and ice, but a glint of silver caught his eye. A broken locket, half buried in the snow beside her. He pocketed it, his fingers brushing the cold metal as if it held answers. As he studied her face, delicate yet hardened by some unseen trial, a question gnawed at him. What had driven her into the heart of a blizzard, alone and abandoned? Consciousness returned to Abigail Harper in fragments, first warmth, then the crackle of a fire, and finally the scent of cedar and sage. Her eyes fluttered open to a sparse room, quilts heavy on her chest. Her wedding dress hung by the fire, its ruined embroidery a painful reminder of the life she'd fled. Panic surged as she touched her neck, her locket gone. "You're safe," a rough voice said, startling her. A man stood in the doorway, tall and weathered, with eyes that carried a storm of their own. "Found this with you." He held out her locket, its chain broken but intact. Abigail's hands shook as she took it, relief washing over her. "Thank you, Mr. Shuri Yidum, Kiawanfornemontum. Caldwell." Ethan Caldwell. He shifted, uncomfortable, as if words were a burden. "Doc Wilson's on his way. Storm's slowing him." Abigail nodded, her fingers tracing the locket's familiar grooves. "I'm Abigail Harper," she said, then added with a bitter laugh, "Though I suppose I'm lucky I'm not Abigail Thornton now." Ethan's brow furrowed, but he didn't press. Instead, he lingered, caught by the defiance in her voice. "Thornton." As in Caleb Thornton's son, Daniel Wunsch or Wanifern. Her eyes hardened. "My father's choice, not mine. He thought marrying me to Daniel would secure our ranch with the Thornton estate." She glanced at her dress, its ruin a testament to her rebellion. "I had other ideas." A flicker of respect crossed Ethan's face, though he said nothing. An older man appeared behind him, carrying a tray of steaming tea. "Señorita Durandorn, you are awake." "Is this bon arm?" "Good." His kind eyes crinkled. "I am Miguel, Cerise's sons." Abigail accepted the tea, its warmth seeping into her bones. "How long was I out?" she asked. "Found you this morning," Ethan replied. Been unconscious most of the day. Storm's gotten worse. The wind howled, rattling the windows, and Abigail shivered, remembering the bite of that cold. They'll be looking for me, she said quietly. My father. The Thorntons wanted to Surano. Once they realized I didn't just flee the church. Ethan's jaw tightened. You're in no condition to travel. We'll figure it out when the storm passes. Miguel nodded. For now, you are safe at dawn's end. As Ethan left, Miguel lingered, stoking the fire. First time he's spoken so much since Clara died, he said softly. Perhaps you were brought here for a reason. Abigail sank into the pillows, clutching her locket. Or maybe I've brought trouble to your door, she murmured. Miguel's laugh was gentle. Señorita, life is trouble. It's what we do with it that matters. The blizzard showed no mercy, sealing dawn's end in a cocoon of snow. Abigail woke to find herself in borrowed clothes, Clara's. Ethan had muttered, his voice thick with something unspoken. The flannel shirt smelled faintly of lavender, preserved with care, and its weight settled heavily on her shoulders. Doc Wilson arrived late, pronouncing her fit but exhausted, and stayed, trapped by the storm. Over coffee, he studied her. Quite a story, Miss Harper. The Thorntons aren't known for letting go easily. Neither is my father, Abigail replied, warming her hands by the fire. Ethan stomped in, snow dusting his coat. North fence is holding, he announced, his eyes meeting Abigail's briefly before darting away. Storm's worse on. Miguel appeared, ever present, with biscuits. Senor, perhaps we show Senorita Abigail the house. She'll be here a while. Ethan grunted, and Abigail followed him, sensing his reluctance. The ranch house was larger than it seemed. Every corner touched by Clara's hand-stitched curtains, pressed flowers in frames, photographs arranged with care. They paused at a closed door, Ethan's hand hesitating on the knob. Clara's sewing room, he said, voice raw. Inside, time stood still, a half-finished quilt, needles and fabric, spools of thread in neat rows. She was making it for spring, Ethan said, touching the quilt. Never saw it bloom. Abigail's throat tightened him. You don't have to show me this. His shoulders stiffened. Clara would want it used, not a tomb. A crash from the kitchen broke the moment Miguel cleaning up Doc's spilled coffee. But something had shifted, a crack in Ethan's grief, a bridge between their shared losses. That evening, as the storm raged, they gathered by the fire. Doc dealt cards, Miguel shared stories of Mexico, and Ethan, on Wanahariicho, though quiet, seemed less distant. Abigail watched him, the firelight catching the silver in his hair, wondering what he'd been like before sorrow claimed him. Days blurred into a rhythm of survival. Abigail found Clara's recipe box and cooked Ethan's favorite beef stew, the aroma filling the kitchen with memories. When Ethan took his first bite, his eyes closed, a sheen of tears betraying him. It's good, he said, voice rough. Clara always added extra carrots. Abigail smiled. I noticed. Wasn't sure if you liked them. I do, he said, surprising himself. Miguel hid a grin, and the meal passed in warm silence. One night, Abigail found a wooden box while cleaning the study, filled with letters from Ethan to Clara, postmarked from cattle drives and supply runs. Those are private. Ethan said sharply from the doorway. Abigail flinched, replacing a letter. I'm sorry. I was cleaning. His expression softened, weary. Not buried, protected. He touched the box gently. Wrote to her every day I was away. Abigail watched his trembling hands. You don't have to. Maybe it's time, he interrupted. Can't run from memories forever. Guess you'd know. No afraid show. She sank into Clara's chair, her own story spilling out. My father's ranch was failing. The Thorntons offered salvation land, water and a money sealed with my marriage to Daniel. I found their plans the morning of the wedding. Maps. Lissus. My life as their key to the valley. Her voice hardened. Daniel's buried 2 wives. Whispers say they died of broken spirits. Ethan's eyes darkened. So you ran in a blizzard. Not my best plan, she admitted. And his chuckle warmed the room. They sat, sharing memories. Ethan reading Clara's letters. Abigail listening as his grief thawed. The storm broke, leaving a world of glittering snow. Ethan found his mother's wedding ring in his desk. It's gold-worn smooth. You sure? Senor, wala banuwanso? Miguel asked, concern in his eyes. They'll come for her. To rasiche wisha where you say wanazinom. Ethan turned the ring, resolve hardening. If she's my wife, they can't touch her. Miguel pressed, Tom, penadiwanon. And your heart. Ethan looked out at Abigail feeding chickens, her borrowed dress whipping in the wind. It's waking up, he admitted. He found her in the yard, her cheeks flushed. Need to talk, he said. Holding the ring, her eyes widened. You want to marry me to protect me? Yes, no. He ran a hand through his hair. The house feels alive with you here. I'm talking again, sharing Clara's memories. I'm offering safety. Ohon, we are home, a chance to build something real. Abigail touched the ring. What if they come? It had been Watson and Anaster and Deacons. We face them together. Siri Yeri, he said. Dawn's end is mine. No one makes demands here. A smile flickered. The silent widower, fighting for a stranger. Not so silent, he said. Thanks to you. She took the ring. Yes, for protection, partnership, and whatever grows. Ethan slipped it onto her finger. The fit perfect, and felt a new beginning take root. News of their marriage spread fast. The Ironwood Gazette printing a cautious announcement. In town, whispers followed them, eyes lingering on Abigail in Clara's altered dress. Mrs. Larson, the storekeeper's wife, smirked. That was Clara's, wasn't it? Rather soon to wear a dead woman's clothes. Ethan's voice cut through. My wife makes her own choices. Abigail took his hand. Defiant. I'm grateful for the home and partnership Ethan's offered. An older man nodded. Clara wouldn't want her things gathering dust. Welcome. Never the one. Mrs. Abigail Harper. Someone to one in Caldwell. The tension eased, but whispers lingered. Some saw love. Others convenience. Sasikan, Sasinafas. Their first test came with a cattle count. Abigail insisted on riding the north pasture. Taking Storm, Ethan hesitated but agreed. Offering his trusted horse, she proved herself, rescuing a calf from a gully. And Ethan's pride shone. Good job, he said, sharing lunch on sun-warmed rocks. A bird in a room. That night, he gave her a carved wooden box for her sewing, a delicate gift of acceptance. You proved yourself long before today. His note read. Abigail's heart swelled, trust blooming in small, steady moments. A broken fence post signaled trouble. A storm loomed, scattering the herd. Ethan and Abigail rode together, herding cattle through stinging ice. When panicked cows neared a deadly ridge, Ethan was thrown, and Abigail's cry pierced the wind. She guided Storm to block the herd, Ethan roping them to safety. Hours later, they repaired the fence in howling snow, hands bleeding, strength shared, exhausted but triumphant. They sat by the fire, foreign, hands entwined, a bond forged in ice and trust. A letter from Abigail's sister, Emma, arrived to Ethan, warning of her father's rage and Daniel Thornton's vow to reclaim her. They're coming, Abigail whispered. Ethan's voice was steel. Let them mourn her. You're my wife. She shared the full truth. The Thorntons' land grab, her father's betrayal, our land. Ethan corrected. Everything here is yours. Miguel nodded. You bring strength to Dawn's end. Senora, Spring painted the ranch in soft greens and purples. Abigail worked in Clara's sewing room, finishing her quilt, while Ethan brought wildflowers. Mountain sundrops, he said, settling in Clara's chair. Clara loved them. Abigail arranged them, her heart fluttering. We could plant roses, she suggested. And Ethan agreed, his gaze warm. They gardened together. Planting Clara's herbs, Abigail's vegetables, and new flowers. Each seed a step toward their shared future. Miguel's words echoed. Gardens are like love, they bloom in their own time. Riders arrived one morning, Abigail's father, Samuel Harper, to Renard, and his men, Jesurin one guns. This marriage is void, he declared, waving a contract. Abigail stood firm. The law doesn't honor contracts signed under lies. Ethan's rifle rose slightly. Threaten my wife again, and you won't leave. Samuel's certainty wavered. She's my daughter. She's my wife. Ethan said, chosen freely. Abigail faced her father. I'm not the girl you could barter. I found my strength here. Samuel tossed her a diary, her mother's. She'd understand your choice. He rode away, defeated. Summer brought storms, and Abigail mended her wedding dress with Ethan's help, their shared stories softening the thunder. Clara loved storms, Ethan said, smiling. Sang terribly, but sang anyway. Abigail shared her mother's tales, their laughter weaving new memories. Surrounded her two de. The dress, mended with delicate stitches, became a symbol of their healing. Harvest filled Dawn's End with abundance. Abigail's preserved peaches glowed like sunshine, and Ethan worked the fields. His silence lifted. He's different, Miguel noted. So are we? Abigail said. Under the harvest moon, Ethan spoke of a greenhouse. A larger garden changes for their future. His touch lingered, brushing dirt from her cheek, and gratitude passed between them. Unspoken but deep, they began a journal, recording Dawn's End story, their story. Ethan wrote of crops and weather. Abigail of laughter and roses. As their anniversary neared, Emma's telegram brought news. Samuel had relented. The Thorntons gone. That night, Ethan admitted, I knew I loved you when you worked on Clara's quilt, honoring her while building our life. Abigail leaned into him. I knew when you gave me that box, seeing what I needed. On their anniversary, they renewed their vows at the spot Ethan found her. Surrounded by townsfolk, Reverend Carter spoke of partners weathering storms. Abigail's vows were clear. I choose you for love, for our shared dream. Ethan's trembled. You've brought light to Dawn's End. To me, Emma brought a letter from Samuel, releasing Abigail and apologizing. Moved by her mother's diary, the celebration was joyous. Miguel toasting, love that grows through seasons. 1 year after Abigail's collapse in the snow, Dawn's End thrived. Laughter filled the kitchen. Roses bloomed beside Abigail's wildflowers, and their journal grew with plans for a family. Love multiplies when shared. Abigail said, touching the family Bible, where her name joined Clara's. Ethan smiled, our chapter's still being written. That evening, on the porch, dinner one and no one. Abigail thanked Ethan for finding her, for loving again. He drew her close. Masimiaman, touching her new locket, thank you for teaching me the heart can heal. Stars gleamed above. Coyotes sang, and Dawn's End settled into night. Its shadows banished by a love that had grown through storms, as wild and enduring as the Wyoming prairie itself. Hey everyone, what a journey that was. I hope you loved diving into this heartfelt story as much as I did sharing it with you. If it touched your heart or sparked a little inspiration, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a tale from the wild frontier or wherever our next adventure takes us. Drop a comment below to let me know what you thought. And I'll see you in the next video. Stay warm, stay curious, and until next time, Hennikinin. Yeah, take care.